Now, in this third part of the program, we are going to go into the prayer phase of this way to get our miracles from God. You know that prayer has no limitations, restrictions in time or in space. We see that in the Bible, in the book of John, chapter 17, verse 20, Jesus was praying, and his prayer was first for his disciples, but then down through the years, those prayers came all the way to us. In verse 20 it says, "Neither do I pray for these alone," that means the disciples, "but for them also which shall believe on me through their word." So whoever comes to believe that Jesus is the Savior through the words of the disciples, this prayer applies to them. And I came to believe in Jesus through the words of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul, and so therefore that prayer applies to me. No limit in time. In the same way, there are no limits in space. I can be here and pray for somebody here. I can pray for somebody 10 miles away, 1,000 miles away, even to the other side of the world. That's what missionary societies do. They send missionaries, and then the home churches have prayer groups that pray for things overseas. And the missionaries come back with, "Thank you for praying for me. Thank you. Such and such a day, I was in this situation and I felt people were praying for me." And sure enough, somebody over here was praying for them on that day. I know of several cases where people were delivered of deadly situation because God woke up somebody at night and said, "Pray for this missionary over there." And that missionary would come back and say, "Who was praying for me on such and such a day?" And they would get together and just share the victory, because both of them were soldiers in the field. One was right on the front line, the other one was the support troop. And so you can have your own support troop, prayer support troop. That's what we are going to do now. Another lesson in prayer is that the more people pray and agree on something, the more prayer power there is. It says that one can chase 1,000 and 10,000. In crusades, big things happen because all that faith is added up and it moves mountains very fast. And so through the video, through the internet, through the mass media, we can coalesce a huge number of prayer warriors. And so you can be part of this too. As the pastor is praying, then you can say, "God, I add up my prayer to this pastor's prayer. I add up my faith. He's praying for somebody to be healed. Lord, I'm praying for that guy, wherever he is, to be healed." And as we're having thousands of DVDs go all around the world, then we'll have thousands of people praying. And so the longer this program goes, the more prayer power is going to accumulate. And we will be seeing great things happen through this method of touching God, believing God, claiming His promises. I want to say a couple of things about the pastors that are going to be praying for you and with you. One of them is named Pastor ETL. When he was young, he had a deadly disease. They put him in the hospital. The doctors gave up on him. He could not even roll over in his bed. He could not sit on his bed. They just gave him a date to die. But the date passed, and he was still alive. His parents were praying, so he had prayer support. According to the physical, according to the medical, he was dead. But prayer moves mountains, medical mountains, financial mountains, all kind of walls and obstacles. Prayer can move them out of the way. And so he started to have faith that he will live, that he could live, that Jesus could heal him. And that faith reversed the process, and he's starting to get better. So much so that now he could sit in a wheelchair. When he saw that he was in the wheelchair, the doctor said, well, he'll never walk. He said, well, I was in a place where I couldn't turn around. Now I'm in a wheelchair. God put me here. He's not finished with me, and I'm going to walk. And his faith was growing, and one day he just pushed the wheelchair out and stood up. He fought to stand up. He had a fight with a wheelchair. And he was able to stand up, and from that day on, he was totally healed. So this is one of the men, this is one man that's going to pray for you. You can add up your prayer to his prayer. He's praying for you, and you're praying for yourself too. So that makes at least two praying for you, you and him. God says, if any two shall agree as touching anything, it shall be done. So you find out where you can agree with him. If he's praying for the sickness you have, say, yeah, Lord, I'm praying for that too. And so you add up your prayer to his prayer. There is another pastor that will be praying for you. He's called Bishop Jean-Baptiste Moulaka. He was in a car going down a steep hill on a rainy day, and the car slid off the road and went down the cliff practically. He had a passenger. The passenger jumps out, and the car rolls over that person and killed him on the spot. He was still behind the steering wheel, and the car kept going 300 feet down into a muddy river. Now, people came, they saw the accident, they took the guy's body, and the ambulance left. They didn't know he was still down underwater. About 8 hours later, a tow car, pulled out the car from the river, and there he was, all crumpled behind the wheel, pronounced dead. Our God is a great God. That dead body revived. He is alive today as I'm making this DVD. He traveled in many countries. He gave this testimony how God returned him to life. And this testimony generate faith in people, so much so that he has seen hundreds of fantastic, extreme miracles. He became the pastor of a very large church